本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。What's good, Internet? It's Monday, May 18th, and you're listening to Waypoint Radio, episode 315. I'm your host, Austin Walker, and I'm joined today by Gita Jackson.
Yo, what up? I'm Gita.
Rob Zachney.
How's it going?
And Ricardo Contreras. How you doing? How's everyone doing? We're here. We're Monday morning. We're punchy.
How are you?
Woke
I was gonna
up?
say, you're like coming in hot.
Yeah,
I'm coming in hot.
Well, we are starting 30 minutes late.
We're starting 30 minutes late. I gotta come in hot.
Yep.
If I don't come in hot, no one will.
Well,
You know?
I woke up and I immediately worked out. So I'm sweaty and I'm full of energy. So
That's that energy. That's that post-workout energy. That's what I'm
hell
talking
yeah.
about.
I've got the
Absolutely.
endorphins
Love
flowing.
when Gita
It's a
starts her
Monday.
day by open palm slamming.
God.
Yoga with
Incredible.
Adrienne to the VHS slot.
It's hard to get on VHS. It's incredible.
I
You're
know.
a true devotee.
What I do is I dub it myself and then I
see.
Wow.
I know, it's really cumbersome. I don't
Wow.
know why I do that.
Incredible. The most stereotypical Brooklynite thing, dubbing your own
Dubbing my
VHS
own-
tapes with your own yoga VHS
Yo,
tapes.
the
Love it.
audiophile
Great.
trend I refuse to get into, even though I understand why it happens. They're so cheap to produce. Cassette tapes, man, I can't fucking go
No.
back. I can't do it.
I won't do it.
Sorry.
How's everyone doing? How's everyone's weekend been?
Mine was exceptional.
Wow, exceptional.
Wow.
Mine wasn't good, but it wasn't exceptional.
Exceptional. I
solid
want to hear
weekend.
about what an exceptional weekend involves.
Not very much that anyone else would consider exceptional, right?
Oh,
It was
that's
I
the way it
see.
is.
It's exceptional to Rob. It's a Rob's exceptional weekend.
extremely chill.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
Like-
sounds nice.
Like, what do I want to do? Whatever I want. And then it was like the gap between thought and action was just narrowed to nothingness.
Wow.
And I was just a creature of pure, wholesome appetites and fulfillment.
That sounds
And
wonderful.
it turns out what I craved was Jaws and Alien Isolation and a bunch of Clone Wars episodes.
Me too.
Great.
Just the last one, not the other ones. We should talk about that at some point.
Yeah, I find out my roommate was watching the prequels, so now I think I'm going to convince her to watch Clone Wars. We had a conversation
I
about
fell into-
Anakin Skywalker.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I fell into a hole this weekend talking to some people about some Star Wars stuff, some folks in the abnormal mapping community, about what Sheev wanted, and I still don't really know.
What? I mean, so the
Sheev?
Sheev seems to have the most
Palpatine,
animus
Sheev
Yeah.
Palpatine.
when he's talking about how he killed that one guy to Anakin, right? That's when you seem to get
Plagueis,
any...
yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's a story that I'm not sure you would know it. The Jedi...
Yeah, you wouldn't know about it. The Jedi wouldn't let you hear
wouldn't
this
let me
story.
hear this one, yeah.
Because here's the thing that I ended up saying was, if I were an incredibly powerful Force user who wanted to control as much of the galaxy as possible through my power and also live a life of luxury and freedom, I would simply join the Jedi Order. Like,
Waka waka! True
I would.
as,
They
though.
already have. I mean, I guess it's not the same thing as being an emperor. I understand that.
Right.
Unlimited power. I get it. But then what? What next? And we don't have the EU to guide us anymore. There was a time when the EU, someone said, wait a second, what was next for that dude? And the answer was the Vong were coming. Aliens were coming, and he was preparing for it. And then that created decades of knockoff bad stories about that. Not just about the EU, not just in EU Star Wars, just like that trope became the classic to the degree that Star Wars would then use it for other characters in Star Wars. But I was like, what the fuck what's Sheev want? Sheev's a master manipulator. Sheev gets everyone in line. Finds the natural tensions between forces that already exist, recognizes the reality of social relations, tugs on certain things, gives more on others, and generates a war. But what comes next after Emperor? What is the destruction of the Jedi Order? Understandably,
Yeah, of course.
But
Sure.
then what?
Those guys got to go. I just
I'm not a
realized
Sheev
something
apologist, to be
really-
clear.
really important. I just
Yeah.
truly understood something. Sheev is Jax from Vanderpump Rules.
Can you explain?
Jax has this predator he's an evil, fucked up man who lies like it's breathing and has terrorized women for the entire time he's been on the show. The only one that's been worse to women on the show is James Kennedy, and he's the one that just like told for months, just for years, really, just kept calling this one girl fat for no reason. And like when he got sober and had to apologize to everyone, he just went up to her and like, I don't know why. I just kept calling you fat, but I did. And I'm so sorry. It doesn't make any sense. Jax is worse than that. But he does.
So you think it is just where does it come from?
I don't
for
know,
Jax?
but his understanding of the problems in other people's relationships and how to exacerbate those tensions is just, it's natural. He understands it immediately. And the thing that he likes the most, seemingly, even as he's sort of matured, is pushing on it and just pushing those tensions for his own amusement and watching things explode. And I do think Palpatine, now that we don't have the EU and we don't have any idea what his broader motivations might have been, is he, as it exists, he's just a guy that loves to see how far he can get by pushing people's buttons. And that's an interesting villain. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but that's all he's doing when he's Emperor. That's my thing. Is like, I get that in the prequels, but then he's the Emperor and he just like sits in a big room all day.
I don't know, he's ugly as shit and he sits in a big room and it does force lightning.
And wants to live forever, especially with new movies shit. It's like, yeah, dog, who doesn't? But it's not that big of a deal. Just die.
Let me toss this out.
Yeah, I need
quick.
this, Rob.
Okay, so I think the thing that has overtaken Palpatine is that I think the EU had the right idea, which was that the New Order represented a kind of high-tech, comfortable fascism. And the thing that the EU built out was the sense that, look, you had a really complicated and poorly held together coalition of different like species and planets and races that all had different interests. And adjudicating that was difficult. And people like, you can understand why the appeal existed to just like pave over all of that with like the rule of the iron fist. And for a lot of people that would work out very well. And then for the rest of you, there's slavery and like planetary destruction, etc. I think the thing that is overtaken...
Sheev never enunciates that as an ideology.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's
it.
implicit. It's implicit in a lot of the original trilogy, certainly. Like in terms of, as they talk about the destruction of the Senate, the imposition of order. You see who the rebels are.
I think what we
hold on, I'm completely on my own here. Hold on, 1 second.
Is Mina eating something? Mina's eating something.
Oh boy.
While Rob is gone, I'm going to put forward my Galaxy Brain read, which is if you read Hegel, you understand that history unfolds. Really, what I want to get to without bringing Hegel into it. Despite the fact that what I really want to do is talk about what Hegel said about Napoleon, is
what did Hegel say about Napoleon?
That he was the world spirit incarnate riding on a horse.
Wow, that's a fucking lot.
Yeah,
maybe he believed himself that, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, but the thing that I want to get to is maybe Palpatine, and I put this to some friends this weekend. Maybe Palpatine isn't meant to be a person at all, so much as an embodiment of historical forces.
Yeah,
which is why he doesn't have human motivation. I mean, he does. He's very human. He has like especially in the prequels. You said you watched these. He definitely has that, like, there's a sensuousness to the way he eats up the screen.
Palpatine in the prequels is having the time of his fucking life. Just watching.
I just wish I saw that Palpatine a little more.
Yeah, he's having so much fun manipulating the stupidest man on Earth. It's really funny to me.
That's true. That's true. You're totally right.
Yeah, he's just like, this
Rob,
motherfucker will do whatever I tell him.
He'll do anything.
Is he gonna kill all these children?
This himbo over here.
Yeah, he's gonna do it.
Rob, welcome back.
Yeah.
Is everything okay, bud?
Yeah, I just had an important delivery that I had to handle like right away.
Gotcha. Well, we missed our talk about Napoleon and the world spirit and Hegel, so we can move on now.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Gita, what was your weekend like? What'd you do? What'd you get up to?
So I actually had plans this weekend, which is a first for me.
Nice.
I streamed with Bijan, who is a staff writer at a website with a name that I don't know. It's like Vox
This is
somewhere.
Verge, right?
The Verge, right?
The Verge, right? I couldn't remember if it's The Verge or Vox. Yeah, it's The Verge.
Bijan Steven. Shout outs to Bijan. Bijan is dope.
Bijan rocks. I really enjoyed streaming with him, but he's like, when I signed on, I thought this was like just a fun thing he does randomly. No, he has like a streaming schedule. He like streams for real.
Oh, damn.
And like a lot of people I've been noticing, I've just been like, okay, well, I'm going to stream 4 days a week now. Like that's just going to be one of the things I do to fill up the like a lot of people are experiencing this thing that, and some of you I'm sure are experiencing, that like the lack of commute times and like decompression from your commute time has led to this new scenario where you just have a lot of time and it feels like that means there's no urgency in your life anymore. And so you don't really know what to do. It's like an extreme form of analysis paralysis where I personally have a lot of things I should do, but I haven't been doing them because it's like, I could do it tomorrow. Like it doesn't matter. There's like almost no deadline on any of these things. So what Bijan has been doing has been streaming. And I mean, it was really cool to see someone just out of like the desire to take it seriously and engage like with a real community, even though, you know, he's just starting out. He's not trying to make a living off of it. He told me he is making a little bit of money on it, but which was pretty cool. But it's like he's not a professional streamer. He's a professional journalist. He's still like, he made an effort to, his like Twitch page looks really nice. He has a very cool like just chatting like logo. He's like put a lot of effort into all the graphics on his channel and stuff.
Yeah.
It was really fun. It's fun to see people engage with that. But at the same time, what people start to discover is just how much work streaming is. Like not just like my cat's falling under the door, but not just like having to do it like every single week and then on the days that you want to do it, even when you don't want to do it. It's you will have a different technological problem every single time that will be something new that you don't know how to fix. And this time, a lot of it was me who just like was having an issue having like we were supposed to play Overcooked, right? So my internet just like was super shitty on Saturday for no fucking reason. And it took forever to download. So I was like, we were like a half hour late starting. But then I started to play and then I started having latency issues, which of course I would. My internet was bad. So then we started trying to figure out another game to play. Nothing on my PS4 is updated. Bijan doesn't have like a strong enough computer to stream a lot of stuff from his computer while playing a game on his computer, which understandable. Most of my games though right now are on the computer. I've been playing more games on the PC just because I'm like, I have this incredibly powerful machine. I should probably use it more. I should maybe I've been trying to invest in like getting good at shooters. So PC is where you go for that. And he was like, oh, let's play some rounds of Apex. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, on PS4. And I was like, shit, I haven't updated that since season 3.
It's going to take forever to download.
Yeah. So I ended up really just chilling while he played Apex with other people. And it was still incredibly fun. But it's like one of those things where you have to, that was like not part of the forethought. And like that is like something you learn with time. And that is like yet another aspect to streaming that people who are very good at streaming have definitely, people are doing like, you really like had to think about, especially in comparison to like, I've been watching Joe Biden just fucking struggle to do anything internet related. And you think about like how many resources that guy has access to and how he can't get it together, not just in terms of his personality, but like on a technological level, he can't get it together for streaming. He doesn't seem to have the prowess there. But 16-year-olds, when you really think about it, are putting on like professional level broadcasts on a nightly basis. And that's really impressive to me. And I'm really enjoying watching people like internalize that fact. There's like a whole generation of kids that have the skill set that is so unwieldy. It's like so, I mean, I've done cinema stuff before and I've worked with sound. It's just fucking impossible, man. It's just really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot about the time that I dedicated to the stuff I loved when I was 16, and definitely think this is that there is, you got the time, you have the spirit, you want to get good at it. You still have the ability at that point to just like figure it out, to look up guides, to talk to other people. There's a fearlessness and a sort of like immediacy, right? Which is like, yeah, no, this is a new thing. I'm going to figure this out. And frankly, like the thing that's the best is compared to when I think a lot of us first looked into stuff like streaming a decade ago, things are so much easier now. There are so many more not even over the counter solutions, just like open source solutions for all sorts of little things. I definitely recommend it. Like I miss streaming a lot. Not enough to where I can like clear other work off the table just so I could stream for fun. I know a lot of people wish that we still did some streaming here and there, and I wish we had the time or the money to do that. But it is really fun, and I definitely recommend it as the sort of thing where like, even if you're just streaming to like 3 people or 5 people, if you're like, hey, I want to check out this game, consider checking it out with your buds, because it is really fun to like go into a single player action game or a single player narrative game and like talk through the choices that you're making in an RPG or talk about the level design. Like a lot of my friends have done that style of smaller stream. And it's always really fun because it does help simulate that feeling of like, hey, I'm hanging out with people. I'm having a conversation. Obviously, there are different power dynamics at hand when you're streaming to like 50 strangers or 500 strangers than it is when you have like 3 people over your room to play Halo.
Yeah.
But there is a degree of direct socialization there that is different than just listening to a podcast or something.
Yeah, I mean, it did feel like near the end when I was literally just hanging out in my bed. My headphones have a long enough cord that I could just go sit in my bed and like pet my cat. It just did feel like, I got tired of playing games and Bijan still wanted to play. So I let him play alone and I just hung out on the couch and like looked at my phone, which is a really pleasant way of socializing with someone. Something that I kind of miss from hanging out with my brother and stuff. But And also, like watching him interact with his community, he's pretty, is, by streaming standards, not super big, but it split the difference between like, I am a broadcaster and I'm in you're all my buds, because a lot of the people in there probably were his buds and some of them were just random people. I know like my friend Max Cado came to watch, which is very sweet. Cado came to watch almost as soon as I started having technical problems with Overcooked too. But
it was great.
Yeah,
I gave some cursed production tips to Bijan, and he followed through on some really great. This is what I love about things when they're breaking, is that professionality goes out the window, and it honestly should always. Bijan set up like 3 of his face cams at one, or 2 of his face cams at one point, to like scroll across the screen and cover most of his Apex viewing in a way.
Yeah.
That was just like, the point here is not that we're watching him play Apex.
Yeah,
that we're just hanging out with Bijan and he's being funny, right?
I hope that watching like more sort of regular people who are not trying to be full-time streamers stream will lead to maybe more weird experiments like that. Like at one point, Cado was like, "Why don't you make your face cam 100% of the screen, but at 40% opacity?" It's amazing.
Hang on, can we back up? Cado, did you mean to say I think professionality should go out the window?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
Is that not what I said? That's what I said.
No, I was just curious. All right, let me just make a note of that.
Hey, hold on.
Damn.
Wait a second.
Yeah, Cado, you can't see it if you're listening to this podcast, but Cado also got the company to send me like a real big boy mic and like a pop filter and like this whole
If there's
arm.
an audio difference.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you can hear my voice more clearly and I sound less like shit, thank Cado.
I think there's a difference, however, between professionality and good sound.
So I think
drawing lines.
I think professionality. Well, I think sometimes professionality like is about gatekeeping, but sometimes professionality is also about like codifying just like minimum standards, right? I think the frustrating thing about like all the streaming shit that I've ever dealt with is that hitting that sort of base level of production quality is just made more challenging, because while there's a lot your PC can do, it feels like it's not really meant to handle all the inputs and activity that like goes into a stream. And so like just putting together this podcast, like Cado and I have a weekly ritual where all my audio settings have changed. And I sign on to be like, all right, here we go. Time to podcast. And then Cado's like, you sound like shit. Where Cado's I don't believe in professionality standards go when it's time for me to podcast, that's another conversation. But we always have to stop and like figure out, we have to sort of like reverse engineer, how has my computer sort of done a random draw on audio settings this week, right? Like what are the devices it now thinks are plugged in, and what settings has it given them? Because none of that has carried over, because in the time between, I've committed the crime of disconnecting a USB.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is what this comes down to. And I think that's kind of the thing that I find really fraught about streaming, is that it feels like there are so many ways for it to go wrong without me really noticing, that I find it kind of harrowing. Because I'm always like, man, I wonder what people on the other side of this are actually seeing and hearing. Because I have no confidence.
Cado does a good job. Cado does the best job with the material we provide.
Yeah.
But what if I don't have Cado?
Or say it again?
What if I don't have Cado?
Oh, then it's
right.
difficult. Then you have to do the work, right? Like I've been on all the weird sides of this shit, of producing my own podcast, of doing streaming from home with not good equipment. I think that like the question on professionalism ends up to me being mostly a question about expectations. And who your audience is. Like, yeah, if you're going to try to be like a full-time streamer who's building an audience around the expectations of what full-time game streaming looks like, you probably want to hit those marks. Looking at Bijan's stuff right now, like, not that we're like doing Twitch crit, I actually wouldn't say that any of this looks unprofessional. The thing about like the big sized screen, like the big intercut him on top of gameplay, doesn't look unprofessional to me. It in fact looks very intentional. You know, like it's doing the video. A thing that's happening in this video is while Bijan is playing Apex, and 2/3 of the screen are actually just Bijan's face, the shot of Bijan is also like rotating. It's also like not rotating, not the screen isn't rotating. It's like it's panning over to the side, and the same shot is being replicated and is being pulled into frame. Mm-hmm. There's like a lot of intentionality. Yeah, it's scrolling. Thank you. That is the word I forgot existed. And like stuff like that is like very clear. Like, oh, he's thinking about how to keep that part of the screen dynamic in small ways. I like, again, I'm not saying like, and this makes it high art. But it's not like it's, for me, when I use the word, I don't even like the word unprofessional, but I do know what we mean. We're talking about like, you know, our instruments aren't set up right. Our microphones are clipping. The video is out of focus or badly sized. Yeah, homebrew DIY, but like without that extra step of quality control or time or budget that would help lift it to the standards that have been set by having an entire industry now of streaming that helps to nail down what those kind of quality things are. I think that like what's good is right now it's actually pretty quick. It's not cheap to get to what that quality standard is, but it might be inexpensive if there is a line we can draw between cheap and inexpensive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like a decade ago,
Streamlabs OBS makes things so much easier. I've set up like overlays and stuff in different kinds of scenes in regular ass OBS, which is pretty easy to use, but I could see how I had a leg up having used audiovisual equipment before, just in terms of understanding what different settings were at a basic level. Streamlabs makes it so easy. It's obscenely easy. It's very drag and drop, like WYSIWYG stuff. It reminds me of really early programs for developing websites for consumers. You just drag and drop things into spaces, and then it already understands how to code that for you. Right. Like it understands if you want to put an image here, the HTML code for image source equals blah, 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 blah. And it would do that. You know, it's so user friendly. It's really not surprising that people are trying to do this more. I like how it's varying up the playing field. It's introducing different skill levels of people, too, in different kinds of communities. Mm-hmm. It's neat. Anyway, that's what I was talking. That's why Monday.
Yeah, that's what she did this weekend.
Yeah, that's what Gita did.
Gotcha. Briefly, we talked about Apex for a second there. I played a little bit of it. I will say my Apex crew has not been playing too much for two reasons. One is a lot of them are just playing Valorant. The other is this is like no registration stuff. I don't know if you've seen this, that like shots just aren't registering after this patch. There's all these clips from like dedicated players basically showing like, hey, here is the graphic of me getting headshots, but no damage is being done.
Wait, it's noticeable even for those of us who are mortals who don't have.
Oh yeah, I noticed it immediately when I jumped in.
I did notice
here's a clip
I
that
thought
you can see it.
I was just bad.
No, you're not
Yes,
just bad.
same.
The game is fucked right now. The game is fucked right now
sucks.
in a way that's like, I'm sure there will be a patch soon, but like it's rough. We're like, I don't know why I lost that fight. I feel like I did right here, and that has meant that like the crew that I've been playing with the most is just like, no, I don't want to engage with this game right now. I really think Loba is cool. I really think I'm like excited to see what the PvE stuff is that's about to roll out tomorrow. But like, how am I supposed to play this game right now where I'm winning fights but I'm losing fights because of the hits not registering.
Which sucks.
And I don't know.
This season is some of the most interesting narrative stuff that they've done.
Totally, yeah.
Really
we talked about that a little bit. Yeah.
The interesting thing quickly is that they're rolling out a narrative aspect through a quest in the season itself. So you can pick up treasure packs every day, and once you picked up a number of them, you'll unlock the next part of the story. And they're doing it kind of visual novel style, where each little section is narrated by a character, and it's fun. It's fun to read. It's more fun than when Overwatch tries to deliver me war. Was what I've been saying in my head. You know, it's the only comparison I can give to it right now. It's the only other character
I'm really curious
shooter
to see
that's this big.
Once the PvE stuff rolls out tomorrow, what those quests, because right now the quest stuff is like there's like you said, a visual novel that like sets up a premise for something, and then more of that will unlock over the next few weeks and I guess months actually. I'm curious where it goes. I definitely wanted to give voice to something that Natalie Watson, not the Apex Legends character, the former employee at Waypoint, brought to mind with Loba. Was like, I can't speak for her. I'd love to have her on at some point to talk about it. But there was definitely some good conversation around the ways in which like this Latina character is like a thief, is hypersexualized in relation to the previous characters, and some of the language and conversations from the art designer, the character designer about her is like, I wouldn't say that it's like, and now that character is trash, but there is a degree to which it's interesting to see the way that like Watson, one of the previous characters, comes out as being like, you know, white and virginal and like completely unsexed, you know, completely like there is no sexuality with this character, intentionally so. And this character being meant to be like intentionally, per the artist, per the original designer, meant to be about pushing some sexuality back in, but also being like a not just a woman of color, but a Latina woman. Like all that stuff is really interesting and has a lot to unpack around the way that stuff is depicted.
There's a little bit of like an angry Latina stereotype with her, which is frustrating because I'm invested in her rivalry with Revenant. You know, I'm deeply invested in that part of that story. But I also have noticed, you know, in the season trailer, in some of the like highlight stuff, for one of her finishers, the camera really likes to circle around her backside.
Oh yeah, no,
you know?
She got an ass in a way that no other character in this game has an ass.
I
think the only other character who,
per recommendation of Emmanuel Mayberg, who said that we should check Pornhub in the morning for trends. Loba Apex is a trending search on Pornhub right now.
I'm not surprised. Of course
you know?
it is. Of course it is. Yes, probably the first Apex character. I don't know why Mirage didn't get his due. I know that you're a Mirage stan.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Like, he gives me bisexual himbo energy. I just feel like there should be like a lot more porn of him.
The difference, I think, one of the things that's different there is that like, I think his horniness is played for jokes. Like he's a laughable, like he's a laughable himbo. That is the stereotype, right?
Yeah.
He thinks he's so pretty. He's incredibly vain. He thinks he's incredibly funny. Gita is like blushing thinking about Mirage as we speak. It's like, yes, my beautiful boy Mirage.
There's a voice line you can get in the season pass where he says, "Would you like to join me for a Mirage à trois?" That's when I get beat up by 2 other guys.
God,
Wow.
that's great.
That's incredible.
I
but you see my
feel
point.
so
I mean-
targeted by that.
I mean, that's what I was going to say. That is honestly, never mind. I retract it. They
Charming.
know exactly what they're doing with him. That's the best way to make him hot.
He really did, like, they leaned into the himbo stuff with this most recent season. They redid a lot of his voice lines, and it's a lot more, like,
They also made him
lovable
good.
doofus.
They
Oh
made
my
him
god!
like from one of the worst characters to one of the best
Kid
characters.
is so good now. I bamboozle
Yeah.
people so much. When you pop that all in the middle of a firefight now, it actually allows people to get behind cover because everyone's so distracted, which is...
Yeah.
I like that it psychologically psychs out the player as opposed to putting an effect on their character. And they really made it work. Got some very
There's also
good
just
bamboozles.
turning invisible while you're when you're reviving people is so good.
So good. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I'm going to continue to try to play it. I hope that they fix this hit scan stuff soon because I want to get back to it very, very quickly if possible. Anyone else get up to anything this weekend worth chatting about? Oh, I guess I'll shout out. I was also on a stream this weekend. I swung through the Ranged Touch Trans Lifeline charity stream where Cameron Kunzelman and Danny of Ranged Touch, I don't know Danny's last name, I feel bad about that, played through all of Morrowind. Well, played through Morrowind. We beat Morrowind. Played through all of his... I think that if you are the true reincarnation of our savior Nevarar, then, or I always say Nerevar, then you don't need to do all the steps to save the world. You can just drink a potion that lets you jump really far, drink a bunch of additional potions that make you really, really strong and healthy and fortuitous, so that when you pick up the cursed blade keening that would traditionally kill you instantly, you just have enough health that it doesn't. And then with that, you can, of course, destroy the heart of a god like you do in video games. And that was really fun. So people can go check that out. Anyone else have any weekend recommendations or things y'all got up to in the weekend? Or should we take a break and come back and talk about some other video game stuff?
Let's break. Let's
take a break.
D&D. It was fine.
You just played D&D. It was fine. Great.
You know,
rousing
D&D.
recommendation for D&D. All right, we'll be right back.
Yeah.
All right, we are back to talk more about video games. What y'all been playing? I know, Cado, you sent me a list of a couple things.
Yeah, I've been playing a couple different things. We can talk. So I've been playing a bunch of stuff that's got, this weird, not weird, but this through line of being, because it's all indie, having like very specific retro aesthetics in different ways. One of them being, let's see, which one should we do first? The Tonight We Riot.
Oh yeah. I saw a bunch of trailers about that. That's published by Means TV.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Which is wild. I didn't know that Means was going to get into video publishing.
Games. Yeah, totally. But they've made this kind of new spin on a what is ostensibly kind of a beat 'em up, but it's like a beat 'em up where you play a group of people. Basically, you go around liberating different workers, and you're fighting through, riot cops and corporate lackeys, etc. But the way that the attacks work is that you're loosely controlling this group of workers that you've liberated, where they kind of follow your same attack patterns loosely. It feels kind of very naturalistic
interesting.
to like the dynamics maybe of a group, because you also have the option to tell them to move if you want them to like avoid something, but it's like not a 1-to-1 where like it like happens immediately. It feels very much like you're hurting a group of people and like trying to get people to do stuff, but they're not always 100%, and not everyone's listening at the same time or with the same speed. And I really enjoyed that dynamic.
Are they still doing so? Like, I'm watching gameplay right now, and it's like a character moving around with a banner, and then behind that character is, 5 or 6 or even more.
Yeah,
you can get depending on the level.
A big old group, depending on how many.
And then it's like you hit the button to throw a brick, and then a split second later, 3 or 4 of the other people do, and then another split second after that, a bunch of other people do it. Is that the basic?
Yeah, in general, and also with movement, which actually becomes kind of interesting because there are like certain AoE explosions to avoid, or like other things that would take out a bunch of people at once, and you kind of have to like, you can't just move your character back and wait for them to respond. You also have to give the command to like, hey, move back, otherwise people are gonna get hurt. And
so do they not then just follow your avatar or your character?
They do in general, but that delay without giving the specific command to move is such that you want to give that command when you're trying to avoid something. And all these dynamics really give that kind of push and pull of like, look, we're all doing the same thing together, but like they are individual actors, which is a really neat dynamic for this type of game. The other thing also is that at the end of the level, the kind of metric you're scored on is workers saved, which is not just like the workers you've liberated from these different factories and stuff. It's how many are with you alive at the end, right? They don't become this kind of RTS fodder for like, we can push through as long as a bunch of people die, know? And you only get certain...
You've lost. Do you get to progress if you've made it through, but your workers have not?
You do, yeah. But like the thing that it kind of locks behind is upgrades, which I actually found that moving forward without those upgrades becomes increasingly more difficult.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. That's
like
interesting.
there are certain update. Like one of the upgrades is like a gas mask, and I like didn't get it the first time. I like lost too many people getting through the level, and the next level after that had a bunch of areas where like getting hit by gas transformed the people that got hit by it into these monsters that like started rampaging and killing everyone. This place, but then I went back, got the thing, and like was able to continue on. So like this like importance on like not just like, it's not the like usual like group dynamics of like, well, if we have enough people to kind of like brute force this, that's how we can do this.
We're gonna Zerg rush, and that means losing a bunch of people. But oh well.
Right. It's totally
really
placing
cool.
that in, which is cool. Yeah, like it's neat, and I really enjoyed what I've played. I've gone through like, there's like almost like it's like a 1-1, 1-2 like situation, and I'm like onto world like 3 or whatever right now, and it's really fun. I like
what are you playing on? You're playing on
PC.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
cool. Because I think it's coming out on Switch, which was like
I think it is.
A shock to me given the content of the game. I was like, I don't different Nintendo, different time.
No, and it's also like I've said like liberate and stuff. Like this is like 100% not trying to hide any of its politics behind.
No, yeah,
it is like sickle and fucking hammer on everything. Like it's fucking out there saying like
you were dropping red flags. You were like, no, you're fighting the riot cops in the streets.
Yeah,
you are taking over factories. There is not a. Yeah, this is not hiding. There is very little euphemism here.
Absolutely. That's been super fun and really enjoyed it.
I clicked ahead in this gameplay footage, and a very shitty looking CEO type said, "The board has decided you'd be more valuable to shareholders if you were dead."
Yeah.
So,
it's great. It's great. And like, just the...
We gotta do something about these Vice leaks.
Get him. God.
Yeah.
Which I mean, we did not even because it has been such a strange week. We did not even do what we should have done, which is open this podcast by shouting out the folks who were unfortunately let go during the layoffs last week. It was one of those things where they timed it. Was it Friday that this happened?
Yeah.
In between our podcast, which means we'd recorded a podcast for Friday before the layoffs hit, and then the layoffs hit, and now it's Monday, which means that we've already gone through a lot of the processing and talking to folks who got laid off and all that. But as always, it is so frustrating to work at a company where we are surrounded by people who are incredibly talented, and to see management decide to invest in itself instead of those talented people. Especially in a time of crisis where you know that the people who are going to feel that crisis the most are the people who are being targeted by layoffs, and not the executives who have not, for instance, further cut their own income to keep some people on board, and instead have just chosen to kick people out here. It sucks. It's very frustrating. So thank you for people who checked in on us. Obviously that means a lot to us. If you are in a position where you can, reach out to people who got laid off here and offer them freelance work, please do that. Some really amazing, talented folks, are out there. Check out the Vice Union Twitter for, some connects on that. We cannot go down into talking about just Vice internal drama, otherwise we will die here. This is where we will live and die.
We need a code breaking team to fully understand it, I think, is what I'm getting.
God. The language of the management class is jargon, so that the working class can't keep up. Cado, what was the other game that you played this weekend?
I played another game called Boreal Tales, which has a retro aesthetic from a different era of I think I forgot to mention the specific aesthetic of the Tonight We Riot being a very much kind of the 16-bit era.
Yeah, Tonight We Riot makes me think a lot of Game Boy Advanced games for some reason.
Yeah.
I think it's the squashed proportional characters, right? Because it's we got a lot of horizontal space, but we don't got a lot of vertical space. How do we make a lot happen? How do we make a lot of action happen here? So
totally.
Yeah. So anyway, Boreal Tales
is about it looks like the way that they pitch it, and I think this is true, is a PS1 game with static camera angles, and what it is an adventure game where you are Bree, and you're looking for your sister who's disappeared. You're in this town that is has a paper mill in it, and the mill factory is closing down, and that's kind of part of this narrative. But I've only played a couple hours, and part of what's really interesting about it is the kind of the way that this narrative is being laid out is very dreamlike, or I even like to think of it more as almost like you find an old VHS tape that somebody used for 3 different things, and cuts randomly in weird places, and you're not sure why, because someone just started, which goes along with the aesthetic of this game being kind of about your sister disappears because she's getting into I forget the exact name. Let me see if I wrote it down. It's static alchemy or static witchcraft. It's
Love
about
to
looking
get into static alchemy.
It's about looking for patterns in white noise on old CRTs and trying to read them. And there's a lot of that kind of specific VHS
this
aesthetic.
Looks like the game
digital magical realism in some way.
Yeah.
Yes.
This game looks like what I wanted Y2K to be.
Sure.
That Earthboundish RPG that ended up being kind of disappointing trash. Was just wanted to evoke a lot of this, but this looks. Also, I will say, Cado, this looks so much better than any PS1 game could look.
Yes,
just
obviously,
to be clear.
And it is also
by better to qualify what I mean by better, because I think a lot of PS1 games look great. There are a lot of effects at work here that were not available on software or on the hardware like the PS1, in terms of lighting effects, in terms of the way animation is being dealt with here.
Totally.
The characters really emote super well in what I've seen from this, which is really interesting. I'm playing this. This looks incredible.
The aesthetic is fucking amazing, and just the way it jumps, it makes these jumps from scene to scene that are unbalancing, but not jarring in a way where you're like lost. I don't know. It's like it's like that thing I mentioned before, which like really fits into the whole like themes of like this specific era of people having VHS camcorders and like what like an average person would do, and like there's no editing, right? Like people would cut and stop and start things in weird places. You would start in the middle of a conversation, and there's a lot of mystery thrown at you right at the beginning of this too. Like it does not waste any time getting started, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm definitely gonna circle back around once I finish it and kind of give more thoughts, but definitely worth checking it out for Boreal
We
Tales.
should note that we don't mean the Boreal Tales that seems to be some sort of typing game, which is a different game with the same name, which is what comes up if you just search for Boreal Tales on Google.
Okay. Interesting.
You have to, in fact, scroll. Why didn't they make it? Why didn't you have to scroll to the bottom of I have to scroll to the bottom of the first page to find the Steam link.
Is there? Wait, is it on Steam?
Even huh?
Is it on Steam?
Yes. Well, It comes out tomorrow on Steam. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got it on itch. I think it's already out.
But like
itch.
Boreal Tales on Twitter is this other different game. So
Wow.
Which actually has debatably more of a PS1 aesthetic if you think about PS1 sprite games.
Right.
So
that's funny.
Yeah. Well, Boreal Tales looks really good.
Yeah.
Rob, you
Can we do this? Can we get into this?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Rob is smiling with a fiendish glee right now. Ear to ear.
I can't believe you've done this, Rob. I can't believe after last week.
Neither could Patrick, apparently. Literally, Patrick had to message me on Twitter. Like, what the fuck? So I got in a mood this weekend where I was like, you know what I must do? Absolutely must. I must play Alien Isolation.
Is this because we raised it in conversation last week?
Is that why?
I'm asking.
I don't know.
Did
Maybe
the seed get planted in your brain?
I think it must have. I think also it's probably been kicking around in my head ever since I bought a Blu-ray of it like last fall and watched it, and it was like, sometimes it really hits you like, damn, that movie rules. Like what a good a good atmosphere and what a scary movie. And I just wanted to exist in that space a little bit more, right? I wanted the vibe of Alien World. And so I reinstalled Alien Isolation. It was like, this time I'm going to beat that game. And it turns out, one, I've never gotten nearly as far along in that game as I thought. I was getting achievements where you're like, okay, it tells you what percentage of people have these achievements. And I was like, I think I got like halfway through that game. I start unlocking achievements in this playthrough, and it starts being like, half of players have this. And if you know about Steam completion rates, like most people don't play very much of a game, right? Like complete like achievement rates are generally pretty low. Like even 25% is a lot, right? Like sometimes the first you just launched the game for the first time achievement is something that only like 70% of people have. So it was weird, and I was determined that this time I would not give up on it like I have in the past. And I think part of that is in the past I have just been too freaked out to continue with it. I found it a very stressful, exhausting grind to play through because the alien is such a persistent foe that you can't really do anything about. You just get like relentlessly hunted by this thing, and it's always there. And after a point, it starts to feel just infuriating, right? Like this fucking thing isn't scary. It's just coming out of nowhere to wreck your attempts to explore this creepy haunted space station. And I was doing better than I have in the past. But this time I was still getting frustrated. And eventually, in desperation, I started... Sometimes you just have to tell Google what's in your heart. That's less safe now than it used to be because of how the Patriot Act was renewed. And now what you tell Google goes straight to Uncle Sam. But I decided to live my truth. People, the FBI can know all about this if they want. I searched alien isolation. Alien is annoying.
Great.
Because you just want to feel connection with another human being sometimes. Look, I'm not saying I'm scared of this thing. I'm done. Like, we're past scared. I just hate it. I hate it so much. I want it to fucking die. I'm like Ripley, like 3 movies in, except like here I am where I just met this thing and I'm like, oh, it's fucking alien. Can you believe this thing? And sometimes as you do, I found like the magical like Steam community result that totally changed how I play this game.
Ooh.
I found somebody basically like putting on the Steam, like the Steam forums, literally my issue, which was just that I'm just trying to explore the space station, man. And this thing keeps coming out of nowhere. It just sucks. I hate it. And there were, your usual mix of people being like, get good. Somebody who replied to that with like a ridiculously detailed walkthrough of the exact sequence the player's having trouble with, but didn't really address the underlying problem. But then somebody is in there in the replies, and they unpack what this game is about. And their recommendations were, don't hoard your supplies. Like, the noisemakers are there to be used. Like, the point of this is not to get to the game with the most like grenades and noisemakers and flashbangs possible. The point is to use those things like whenever you need to progress through the game. The point is to outsmart this predator using your tools, because that's the only advantage you have. The other thing they advised was that, I can't believe I never figured out this was how the game worked. The game introduces the notion that you can hide in the lockers. But what it doesn't tell you is that hiding in the lockers will just make the alien hover in the area. And so the thing they recommended was Alien is about a game about like you keep moving forward. Like you stay mobile. Don't sneak very much. Like, don't drop into a stealth crouch and like crawl around the level. Because you take it, like, characters are not that observant. The thing that keeps you safe is not being in an area too long. The longer you are in an area, the longer, like, the higher the chance the alien will begin a search. But if you keep moving at a decent pace, you just start outpacing the alien's interest in hunting you. And once I read that, I realized, like, it completely changed how I played this game, right? Like, it completely made me realize, okay, so there's not going to be a point in the game where, you didn't store enough noisemakers, so you're fucked. Like, the game will always make sure that you probably have enough of those to get through. And the fact that the minute I stopped hiding in lockers, hoping that eventually the thing would just go the fuck away, the game got a lot easier. Like, once I just started walking through and just started kind of barefacing my way through alien isolation, the game got really manageable, where I was just like, oh, hey, that's a synthetic. Well, it's sort of quarter turned away from me. That's probably enough. And I would just brush past it and it wouldn't see shit.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So I started like really cook on this game, and I've been really enjoying it. And, the way that it does have some really cool set pieces. Like, there's a sequence where you're rifling through a hospital, and it's full of survivors who are armed and will shoot you on sight, but their shots will also bring the alien down. And so the entire sequence just takes on this like nightmarish cast of the humans won't shoot at you immediately. They'll usually try to back you off. And so you'll have people like waving revolvers in your face, being like, do you want to die today? Just back off. Just turn around and walk away. If you don't do it fast enough, like, they will open fire. They're not super accurate. But then the next thing that happens is you hear like a vent duct burst open.
Right, of course.
And then you hear screaming and like gunshots and like pounding feet. And you're just like, feet, do your stuff. Just walking away. It's just, look, I came here for the trauma kit. I'm leaving. It did make me realize, like, it's weird. I think Alien Isolation is a game that I think is really cool. It's a game I admire. But as I play through it, I'm not sure it's a good game, right? Like, it might be a great game. I'm not sure it's a good one.
Please unpack the line you're drawing here.
Alien Isolation has a really unique character. Like, Alien Isolation is really unlike just about any other game. Like, there's elements of your classic immersive sims like Thief of the Dark Project, etc. There's a lot of like good stealth game DNA, but its real interest is in lovingly and with fanatical attention to detail recreating the aesthetic and world of the original Alien. That is the one thing it does better than anything else. And that's why, like, this time, I think I really gelled with it more than usual, because what the game's primary interest is what I was coming to it for. I just wanted to go soak in this fucking VHS aesthetics, right? I wanted the sort of, CRT displays, scan lines, weird analog glitches. I wanted big boxy computers and all the attention to detail, right? Because in a video game, you can sort of pay attention to those things. Like, they're just background set direction in a movie or set decoration in a movie. But in a video game, people have the freedom and interest to say, like, okay, well, how does all this stuff fit together, right? Like, how do I imbue an object you glimpse in the background of a scene in Alien and make it, like, what does it do in this world? Where would you find it? What would the rooms where it crops up look like? And all of that is really striking and gives it an incredible, almost unmatched, like, sense of place and character. But it's also not a very accomplished stealth game. Like, it's trying to be. But once you realize, like, oh, these are the limitations of the Alien, what they've actually created is not a very convincing hunter, but also something that will routinely interfere with some of the most important aspects of the game, right? Like, you will be logged into a terminal to read your classic emails, right? Like, what were people saying before all the shit went down on the station? While you're doing that, you're incredibly vulnerable, and the alien or a synthetic might come along and just kill you at any moment. And so the game is constantly punishing you for trying to indulge in the great pleasure it offers, exploring the world, soaking in the atmosphere, because the game is constantly saying, like, move it along. You shouldn't be here. You need to keep going. And as that goes on, like, familiarity breeds not necessarily contempt of the alien, but just kind of exhaustion, where you're just like, I just want to see the story. I think this is why, like, one of the most popular mods for this game just removes the fucking alien. Right. Like, so I think it's a really interesting game, because I think this game does have kind of an outsized reputation, and I understand why. Like, I badly wish there was another one of these. I would have loved to see what a refined version of this looks like. But instead, what we have is just this really strange passion project that echoes a lot of influences that it clearly loves and admires, but also, particularly with the game design, can't quite fully evoke. The last thing I note here, and this is sort of a contrast that really jumped out at me, maybe just because of the state of the world, whatever. If you think about Alien, it's full of these, like, intensively blue-collar sensibilities, right? Like, the crew wakes up on their shitty space truck and immediately start arguing about bonus pay and back pay and, like, contract fulfillment. The maintenance guys are in their own little world and just fuck with Ripley routinely, right? Like, they, there's the scene where she's trying to talk to him and they keep, like, venting the steam line so that nobody can hear anything. Just because they're trying to make her, like, yell and make it clear they're not really listening to her. And it's all full of these ways that, like, working stiffs, like, on a job site will kind of mess around and shoot the ship, but also it's a serious job. Like, it just has the sense of these are manual laborers. They're manual laborers in an industry. These are not white collar workers in any sense. what's interesting about Alien Isolation is it's the world of Alien. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but it's the world of Alien is shot through the sensibilities of a video game studio, namely Creative Assembly. And so when as you go through Sevastopol Station, what you uncover is what you will find more of is the consequences of bad management decisions. And you will find people talking about how we need to pitch this client on our Android production line. And if we don't, like, it's curtains for our project, we're going to be shut down. And so Sevastopol Station is a stage for not the anxieties of Alien, not the anxieties of the expendability of an industrial, like, blue collar workforce. It is a stage for the nonsensical and often self-defeating and still destructive policies of a professional managerial class, let's say. Like it is Alien, but what if Alien were really about what happens in the tech sector?
Mm-hmm. That's fascinating. I'm installing it now. It's on Game Pass. This has inspired me to open up Game Pass on my PC for the first time in forever.
I'll tell you, it might be a controller game.
Yeah, well, I'll play it with a controller then.
Yeah, because I had started on the Game
Everything's
Pass.
A controller game. Not everything, but very nearly for me.
That's how it feels, right? Like, unless you're really like in a fussy shooter, like increasingly...
Valorant is the only thing I play with it, or a strategy game, right? Like, yeah. But otherwise, I'm controller for most things at this point. This sounds. I've Alien Isolation is a game I've watched people play, but never played myself. That I know I would probably have strong feelings about, and have just never given it the time. And I should do that. I should at least give it a few hours and see what I feel. You know.
Yeah. So I'm gonna dig up that Steam thread though, so you don't get bogged
down. Please do.
Like I do.
Please, because like literally appreciate it.
The reason I thought this, like, I gotten far in this game was I made the like opening act take like 6 fucking hours because I was just like I was just like, this alien slows progress to a crawl. Once I was like, this guy don't see shit. He can't smell me. There's no sense of smell in this game. You just walk around him. Once I realized that, I was just like, all right, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah, that sounds good. The worker stuff that you talked about there also reminded me that I have put more time into Fallout 76 on Matthew Galt's recommendation.
Yeah, he says that the new shit makes it incredibly good.
I have not. So I just am getting to the new shit now. The new shit doesn't unlock. Well, okay. There's new shit from the jump. There is like an opening quest that didn't exist before where you help a bar out, basically. But then it's the old shit for 15 levels, because usually it's level 20 to get to the new shit. So I'm only just now getting to the new shit. The old shit, I still don't think is very good. And I've actually, it's been very interesting to try to play this game with other people, because it's made me, I've had a bunch of experiences this past week that have helped me understand my own multiplayer gaming anxieties in a new way, which is interesting. The Fallout thing is like, I neither want to go as slow as anyone else or as fast as anyone else with a Fallout game. I don't want to play that style of game with someone else in any of the modes at which I'm normally playing that game, because either people aren't being as thorough as I would be in my exploration and people are moving on too quickly, or people are like being lackadaisical and being just kind of like, yeah, we can just kind of poke through this place. I'm like, no, I am playing a Bethesda game. I am sprinting. I am picking up all of this duct tape. I'm going to clear this room out, and I'll be in the next room before you're even in the door. And that is tough. It has been a fun place to just like socially hang out or like let myself be in that more passive mode, but it's a lot of work to do it. The other thing was, and Cado, you can speak to this because you were in this group. Yeah. I did a group Valorant. I did a 5v5 Valorant series this weekend with people I knew. It was like literally 5v5 with friends of mine, with friends of mine. And that experience sucked. I really like Valorant a lot. And we won 2 of the 3 games I was in. So it's not like it was like I have, I'm salty over that loss or whatever. It was 3 blowouts in a row. So I guess one of the lessons was definitely that, like, however frustrating the official matchmaking can be, it's better than hitting random on 10 of your friends and hoping that it turns out okay. But more importantly, the two takeaways for me were like, one is it sucks to just be like completely outmatched in a game and be like, well, this team, we just can't find a footing here. But more importantly was, it felt bad to instrumentalize the knowledge that I had of my friends for victory.
Oh no.
Cado.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Cado, every time as Omen that you do the ability, you go to heaven. Every time.
Well,
And so there was a moment, Cado, when I said to my team, when you were not on my team, where you go, the Omen does the thing. Omen is a character in this game who can teleport as his ult, can teleport anywhere on the map, picks a point on the map, teleports to it behind the enemy line, effectively, in this first-person shooter. And it would be like, scatter, or whatever the line is that Omen does. And I say out loud, Cado's in heaven. And someone rotates to heaven and shoots you in the head. And that, I know the opposite is also happening to me in my Brimstone plays, where like people are going, well, okay, well, Austin smoked there. He's about to drop the ult split. Like, you know what this is. Or whatever it is. And that isn't enjoyable for me when it works. What I like about understanding my the idiosyncrasies of my friends in a game like Valorant is learning how to utilize them, learning how to help people understand where that could be a speed bump for them, or emphasizing how to play with that in mind. Where like when you go to teleport to heaven, I'm not going to be like, Cado, don't fucking teleport to heaven. You know you're going to get shot in the head. What I might say is, all right, in my mind, I know Cado's about to teleport to heaven. How do I utilize that ability and play with it? Like, is it that I go make sure that someone else doesn't run up and shoot him in the back of the head? Is it that I know that we're going to have this moment where we're going to have protection? Heaven, I should clarify, heaven is on maps in Valorant, and I believe in Counter-Strike, where the term comes from, is just like a window looking down onto the map, basically, from a higher position. And on most maps, there is at least one place that is called heaven, that colloquially we call heaven, because it's looking down on like kind of a contested area. And it's like, okay, I know that's where Cado's going. I like to play with that. I like it. I know that people will be able to say, okay, Austin will always drop smoke clouds in these areas, which means we'll have cover from there. What I don't want is that feeling of like, when Austin drops the smoke clouds there, that means that they're going to push this direction. Let's chop off their fucking heads. And even though I won most of those rounds, it's just like I didn't leave. I don't want to shit talk my friends in that way. I just don't have it in me in that way. And I know that reflects probably my own childhood sporting experiences and my own relationships with different types of masculinity and expression. Or I like to shit talk. I just like to shit talk strangers with my friends. Really? I like to shit talk when we are down or equal in a match. I don't like to shit talk when we're crushing someone. It's not fun to crush someone. It's fun to come from behind. It's fun to have a close game and pull it out in the end. And believe me, that is when my shit talking is on point. Like I have it. But I just had, it was a very telling experience for me to sit down, play those games, come out ahead, and still have not had a very good time. I don't know, Cado, if that speaks to any of your experiences in those matches, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm a very optimistic person in general, and oftentimes I can like work around the like losses as learning experiences.
Yeah.
In that situation where I feel like a lot of people will, especially when like, I mean, I was on the 13-0 side twice, because Valorant games play out in 1st to 13.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it can get rough. And I think part of it is whether you're coming to that game with the mindset to try to improve, which is a thing that you have to actively be doing. I feel like you come to a game and, you know, you're trying to play a game to the best of your ability, but the difference there being like taking note basically of mistakes and understanding what the mistakes are versus like, I'm just not Like,
yeah, no, I
got
think that's.
which like.
I mean, that to me is why I'm totally good with losing. Like for me, it isn't about getting stomped. It's about this particular type of competition with people I know, and which is I know again an idiosyncratic thing for me.
And so like. It was mostly like it.
Did you feel like you were able to learn stuff on the match where you were not 13-0?
Yeah, mostly it was a lot of like understanding like mistakes made by when we were on like defense, understanding like why an offense crumbles. Right? Or like
when you watched,
Yeah, I was about to say one of the rounds I was observing because we had like too many people, right? But then Valorant allows 2 observers. The observation mode in Valorant fucking sucks right now, which whatever, it's a beta. They haven't fully built it out or anything. But what I could see, kind of made certain strategies like really clearly stand out as like, oh, I understand why this fails like 9 times out of 10, but people still try it. The like this seems like a good point of attack, but actually when you're looking from literal like bird's eye view, you understand the ways that these maps are built and how it can be easy to get collapsed in on from certain points. Mm-hmm. But it still feels it's still a thing that you see a lot in like random matches. That was kind of the most fun, and I would, if you ever have a situation where you can be in observer mode watching a full game, like that's absolutely going to be one of the easiest ways to learn strategy on different maps, and it's like a thing that's like not really easy to get because there aren't there's no in-game way to like share that sort of VOD or anything, and there aren't a lot of people doing streams from those perspectives, which is unfortunate. But hopefully I really enjoyed being able to kind of see all of those different like point of views is really useful.
Well, that's definitely been I'm excited to get back to it. Like I'm excited to get back to just playing the game and playing it with friends. Which is weird. Like I've also been thinking a lot about that game in the time of quarantine for me, because I'm not normally someone who likes to play purely competitive games, especially ones that don't have much in the world. That game does not have a cool season pass. That game does not have a good feeling of progression at all. It's not, that stuff just hasn't been built for it yet. You're unlocking stuff at such a slow pace, and that stuff isn't that cool.
The thing I was gonna say was, and like this is obviously not gonna be for everyone, but I've actually been enjoying climbing through ranked missions. Ranked. I've been able to like gain levels, and like it's that same notion where like when I'm losing matches in ranked, I'm like
totally. I'm just saying.
Take something away. Yeah.
I'm just contextualizing inside of lots of games have ranked modes before. Most of those have never been able to pull me in. Apex is a game I love, and the thing that lets me continue to play it is the progression tick of going through a season pass and getting cool new stuff. This game does not have that, and yet has me continuing to play it because part of me wants to know if this is just like where I'm at right now. That is like, it is good to have a thing that I can hop on a call with 4 people and waste 2 hours with and feel like that time is contributing to something, which is my need for sociality, my need to do something in every single day that feels like I'm getting better at something, etc. That I'm curious if a year ago today, if this game would have hit me in the same way, because what I would be doing in that time, almost always in the time that I sit down to play that game, would have been working at a coffee shop, would have been away at the office still late, where I would not have had a computer in front of me to play this game with people. Whereas now working from home, it's super easy to be like, oh, does anyone want to like sneak a game in really quick? And that is an interesting like change for me that has opened up this style of game that just wouldn't have been there for me previously. So that's my Valorant update for sure. Rob, you're leaning forward. I can't tell.
No, I'm just imagining you as like, you started playing the part of like Valorant, like Gina Davis in A League of Their Own, right? Where just like, you don't want to do it, but here's how you totally destroy my friends. High fastballs, can't hit them, can't resist them.
I mean, this is the thing, is like I've gotten to be pretty fucking good at that game compared to where I was originally. I also had a game yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever that was, 2 days ago, where I was playing with a friend of a friend, and that friend of a friend was like a CS:GO pro, who had been pitched to me as like, oh, he hasn't played much Valorant yet, but he'd clearly played enough for the matchmaking to put us with people as good as him and people as good as me. No. And it was just like the most embarrassing in my feelings. Just like, wow, I don't know how to play this game, I guess. I thought I'd gotten better over the last month, but now I'm trash. So
yeah, I want to play Valorant really bad, but I've been afraid of that scenario. I'm not a CS:GO player. I that kind of first person shooters in general. I'm closer to Rob than I think in like my games taste. I like strategy stuff. I like Sims. I do like first person. I love like Apex and stuff, but that's like really fast paced. You like running and gunning and jumping and leaping everywhere. When I play Apex with people who have been playing Valorant a lot, they just talk about how they forgot that you can actually move while shooting.
It's great to move and shoot at the same time in Apex. It is. Wait,
super you mean
strange.
I can run from a gun engagement after they've already started shooting at me? What?
Yeah.
I know.
Well, if you pick Jet, you could quickly do a side dash away. No.
God.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, Gita. But I do think like given the amount of people who are playing Valorant in our circle right now, that you could probably find people who would not be rude about helping you learn that game. I certainly did. I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like I was trash. I was so bad. I don't play mouse and keyboard shooters. Like I don't do it. This is the first mouse and keyboard shooter again that I've played in probably 8 years. And so to get to where like, okay, I'm pretty consistent. I don't feel like I am bringing the team down every time I play anymore. In fact, I feel like I'm an asset in most of our matches. That feels good. And I needed that feeling so bad, right now. So
that's why I've been enjoying like investing in kind of getting better at shooters. Like, it feels. I've been talking to my therapist a lot about doing things that make me feel good, that the feeling good is not like dependent on external validation. So shooters are not something I'm good at, so I'm not going to get like external validation from other players or from the game. So I really have to find validation in my performance just within myself. Right. You know, seeing the damage number go up in Apex games, or getting one more kill, or like one more thing, like that is the thing that's giving me that like that feeling of accomplishment and having done something productive. Because like for my job, like getting better at shooters will be helpful. I can cover more games, but it's not like a specific skill I need to train for my job. It's like a completely frivolous thing that I'm slowly getting better at, and there's something really comforting about getting better at a completely frivolous thing.
Right. No, totally. 100%. Before we wrap up, I just want to shout out a couple things that came out that we've talked about before, but that we haven't talked about right now. One of those is Tales from Off-Peak City, which Cado, you talked about a couple of months ago. That's out now on itch and Steam. That is the Cosmo D photography game that you talked about probably 3 months ago, right?
Turns out I dove into the photography side of it much harder than... it's not a photography game. It has a very good camera that makes it feel like it's the focus of the game early on. And it turns out it's really actually about making pizza. But it's also great.
Wait, pause. Excuse me? What do you mean you thought it was a photography game, but it's a pizza? Cado.
No, I didn't think it was. I just thought that was the main focus.
Pause. Why should I be convinced that it's a pizza making game at this point?
Because I actually played more of it into where I like moved the story along, and not just wandered around this place taking a bunch of weird photos. It's just it was this thing where they gave you the camera early on, like super early. That's one of the very first things you can get. And I spent so much time playing around with it and talking to people up until the actual quote unquote actual whatever the main thrust of the narrative has launched, where I thought I was still moving along the right way, and I thought it was about kind of exploring this world with your camera. Turns out it's actually about making pizza. You get to a point where you're making pizza, and that's the main part of this is being a pizza delivery person for a little bit.
Okay.
I have to actually didn't finish it yet. I have to go back I don't know, I forgot. I dropped off. My brain does this. I get 2/3 through a game and then forget to finish it. But yeah, it's
if I can add on to games coming out this week that look cool and is a photography game. Also out tomorrow is Umurangi Generation, which has one of the coolest vibes I've seen in a game.
Wait, what is this?
This is incredible. There's a demo out now that I did not put any time into, but watched someone play some of. It is very much the open world photography game you pitched Tales of Off-Peak City as. It looks gorgeous. There's I would say that there's a bit of a near future cyberpunk vibe, but I really want to emphasize that I don't mean the sort of cloudpunk vision of cyberpunk. I mean, there is some neon signage and stuff, but it is a dirty, messy, 3 years from now or 3 or 30 years from now, depending on how capitalism goes. Everything just is, it's I don't say everything is desaturated because so much of this game seems to be hey, you have a camera, you fuck with saturation. But there's just there's a real lived in feeling to these spaces, and I'm excited to check this out. It's very much a hey, go compose a shot for me that has this set of things in it type game. You know what I mean?
I'm very curious.
So games to pick up this week. For me, Umurangi Generation, Tales from Off-Peak City, and then what was the Boreal Tales? Absolutely.
Boreal Tales, yeah.
So that's what my video game docket looks like this week. On that note, I think we should probably wrap things up. I'm not going to take a dip in the question bucket. I need to go eat lunch. I'm really hungry.
I also need to eat.
I'm going to call a break there. Also, I have to go back and watch that Vice All Hands that I missed most of. So I should go do that. I hope everyone has a good week. I'm just getting a bad vibe right now from this week. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's because last week was bad. Maybe it's because not everyone is still quarantined and parts of the country and the world are opening up preemptively in a way that scares me deeply. But I'm trying to put as many good vibes as I can out into the air. I hope people take care of themselves this week. Please know that as always, your support means the world to us. You can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/waypoint. You can follow me at Austin_Walker. Where can people follow you, Rob?
So what I was getting to about Palpatine was that his brand of evil, what he represented originally, started to look too much like the sort of American empire that existed through the latter half of the 20th century. I
mean, the prequels are pretty explicitly a 9/11, Iraq War analog, right?
And so the question of what is he all about has to be obscured, has to become almost meaningless, evil for evil's sake, because, and this is a problem across media, actual motivation for villains, people who actually have an intent for how I'll reorder the world, inevitably begin to sound too much like a target market for whatever piece of media they're making.
Or the opposite happens, right? Which is you get the villain who has the good idea, but too much, right? You get the yes, their diagnosis is correct, but the cure is very bad. The cure is too far, isn't it? That's not a rational cure. But you're right. Palpatine
Killmonger, why are you so angry?
right. Yeah, exactly. That is the... Yeah. That is the alternative. Okay. I like that analysis. This is good. Gita, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at XOXO Gossip Gita.
And Cado, how about you?
Where does ego play into all of this? How?
But there's a point at which what's next? I feel like the ego is sated by the point at which you got a cool...
Isn't that the point of right?
No, but I think that it's bad. I think that's
sure.
No one has that ego without also having without also having ideology, without also having rationalization, because they have to talk to other people and convince other people that what they're doing is just, so that people will do it, or have to give them stuff. You either have to have ego monsters who are just so there's a degree of monstrousness that's hard to believe. Not because people won't do monstrous things, but because people are very good at rationalizing monstrous things or building ideologies around which monstrous things seem rational.
Hold on. Can I give you a game that had a really smart take on this?
Yeah, sure.
The original Force Unleashed game.
Huh.
Okay.
Its entire retcon of the origins of the Rebel Alliance.
Gita's face right now is unbelievable.
What overtakes Palpatine is that he's won. Like, the Jedi are exterminated, like the Empire is secure, but his driving force at that point is paranoia. He just can't believe that he's won.
Oh,
and so he has to keep striking out at enemies. And so his big idea is that what if we create a false front Rebel Alliance under the banner of an agent we control, and that will draw everyone out. But there is no conspiracy.
There is no
Rebel Alliance. What he does is he creates it and then loses control of the plot and
good.
spirals out of
That's
control. The game ends with him telling Vader, like, we need to get ahead of this Rebel Alliance or it's going to destroy us.
That's amazing.
And the entire thing is just, it's all Palpatine's psychodrama.
That's very fun.
Wow.
This I like. Now this I'm here for.
That requires no worldview, right? It's just, I fulfilled,
Yes.
like, I have everything I want. Oh my God, how do I protect it?
Right.
Right.
That's
And
what-
then all you can think about
this is the thing
how you hold on.
The thing to be clear is the part of the original trilogy that does just work for me is, of course, he wants to protect what he has. This makes perfect sense to me. The thing that ends up being difficult for me is Sheev more than Emperor Palpatine. Is Senator Sheev? At that point, all I get is he is the most recent in the long hidden Sith legacy who has really become obsessed with destroying the Jedi.
Oh yeah,
But I feel
well,
you know
the
what I
Sith
mean.
suck. The
I know
Sith
the Sith suck. I
Like,
know.
But I think they suck in ways that are reflective of two things. One, Lucas didn't actually have anything plotted out. You know what I mean? Like,
and
what were
other
the Sith? They
adaptations
were
of the
nothing.
Sith. The other adaptations of the Sith try to define them as kind of reflections of the Jedi, or like the in reaction to the Jedi as being like deeply passionate, as in believing in competition and anger and accepting. There's a real politic element of the Sith in certain adaptations, right? But
with,
I think you get some of that with
the,
Palpatine with Sheev, but you don't get all of it.
But what the universe gets to is the Sith are just people who just do evil for evil's sake.
Yes.
They're just nasty.
They're
Got to
just
do
nasty.
something about those Sith. And there's never many of them. They're like, it's always just like,
There's always more
one master,
than
one apprentice.
Okay, there's always more than the two they say there are, but there is never as many as there were Jedi at the height of the Jedi Order. Unless you go all the way back to times when there were actually huge armies of Sith. Star Wars is a land of contrasts. I've been watching Clone Wars. That's all. That's all it is. A Lando contrast, my OC. All right. On that note, we are actually wrapping this up. Thank you for joining us today. Hope everyone has a good week. As always, thank you to Bowen for letting us use the track Miss You off the EP Pale Machine. Find out more about that at waypoint.zone/BO.
I refuse to buy Lando contrast ever since they took Lobot off the box.
Oh my God. Justice for Lobot. Everyone should go listen. He is...
This is the first time I haven't been responsible for the nonsense. I think when I've been on.
Welcome. This is the real Waypoint Radio.
Finally, after like almost 6 months, I'm
Yeah,
finally
you've
finally
seen
here
it
for
now.
real.
You've
Damn,
seen it now.
it's changed me.
God. The coolest thing about the Clone Wars is, as a show,
Hold on, is it only available
Wix.
on
Disney
Plus right now?
You can buy it a la carte on Prime, which is what I've been doing. I've been finding
which of our monopolies will we have to
Yeah,
support
right?
to get the entertainment we desire?
Polygons of Maddie Myers recommended to me a specific like skip list so I could not get the filler episodes and just
I
go
don't
back
want
and
it.
watch
I don't want
later.
it
Give me
all.
that.
I need the
No,
bad
I
shit.
just
give you
had
the
an
skip
episode
list.
where
How many
so-
times do you
There's
want to
a
see
Jar
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 Jar?
episode.
Yeah. He's just gonna stumble into which episode? How far in are you?
I've only done the first season, skipping many episodes.
Okay.
So I'm
And
gonna go
Bob,
in and
are
go
you
to the
also
skip list.
season 1 still?
Yeah, I just got. There was an episode where Padme goes to the Rhodian homeworld.
The Rhodian, yeah, of
and
course.
yeah,
That episode
and-
is bananas, and also all the Jar Jar stuff is bad. I'm with you. The
Yeah,
slug,
like it's all crap.
and that episode ends with the most like liberal. It's like their ideal version of liberalism is the one in which the liberal government could have completely mishandled one of its constituents' parts, absolutely left it to fucking hang, then
Gets an apology from them.
Gets an apology from them. And then Padme has the fucking nerve to be like, oh no, Senator Rodian guy, my Uncle Rodian guy. We're very tight, by the way. I call you Uncle. We should have apologized to you, but now we'll do better. I won't tell you how we're going to do better. Just trust us. It's going to be good.
But then an episode later, just fucking ruled, where they were doing a prisoner transfer, and they had the fucking trade federation guy aboard their ship.
That episode rips.
Yeah, dude. And the thing I loved about it was like, hey, why are they using clones for everything? Like, why do they need the clones? Well, the answer is because nobody actually believes in the Old Republic anymore.
No,
like even its elite troops have lost faith in the ideal, which is why one of them turns. Like they can't trust anybody. They didn't grow out of a vat or
the
isn't
whole
a Jedi.
Premise of of why we use clones and not droids is they say because humans or sapient beings that aren't droids have free will, but free will is the problem for the New Republic, or for the Old Republic, not the New Republic, the Old Republic, or I guess it's just the Republic at that point, the Galactic Republic. Totally. That's exactly it. They can't trust people with free will either. They need people who have been literally programmed to be loyal. And I know that the show ends up getting into the complexities of that particular thing as it continues. I'm very excited to catch up with where I was when I first watched half of this show a while ago. God. Anyway, the thing that rules about it for me, the best thing about it is just the way in which it is like baby's first dramatic irony. It is like a show meant to be watched with the knowledge that it's all gonna fucking fall apart, and it's just delicious. It's just so joyous. Like every little bit of foreshadowing to the inevitable destruction of the natural, like the current order, not the natural order, but the status quo, the destruction of the Jedi, the betrayal of Obi-Wan and Anakin, like all that stuff is just juicy, and it's just like episode after episode of them playing with it.
It's a countdown to Order 66.
Yes.
Which the writers know.
Yes.
And they pour so much character into Anakin. And it's so great that it comes to the eyes of Ahsoka, who is a true believer, who is not hopeful.
I'm so excited. We should just, okay. We have to end this podcast before I make us commit to something we can't commit to.
We can, though. We can.
We could.
We could.
We're going to end this podcast. Thank you so much, as always. You already know what it is. Fuck capitalism. Go home. Peace. But what if?
What if?
Look,
In this time of COVID, the professional managerial class sounded the purge siren. We can do what we want.
It's true. We should be podcast criminals again. I've done it before. You only get threatening DMs. They can't do anything to you.
They can't do anything real. If we did one episode a week about Star Wars: The Clone Wars?
Look.
Also, people would be like, "Why are your podcast numbers exploding?"
Yeah, why?
That's what actually happened.
Actually, what would happen? You're right.
People would be like, "I love your podcast, but why do you guys talk about video games half the time?"
Why are you doing that? Why wouldn't you just talk about The Clone Wars, a good show?
It's fascinating. It's such a because it's a children's show, and they pack so much into it. Just all the shit they get into, where they put the seed of clones have their own personalities, and then they just keep building on that idea. Is anyone actually programmed to believe anything? Or nature versus nurture shit with the clones, which all the rest of Star Wars canon have accepted as having the same personality, motivations, and
See, but
desires.
look, this skip list is already skipped things I think you should watch.
Okay,
There was a moment in that episode
I don't
where
want
they're
to see
fighting.
Jar Jar.
Well, then you just need
Jar Jar's rough.
Jar Jar's
Although Jar Jar does stumble on hey, why said there a Jedi robe on Padme's ship? Weird. Why does she have a Jedi robe in her closet?
Bro, that early episode where Padme and Obi-Wan just start making out on a train inside of an enemy base.
Excuse me?
It's like, what is y'all are going for?
Wait, Obi-Wan?
Sorry, not Obi-Wan. Anakin.
Okay.
Anakin.
Would have been a better choice for her long term, but
Long term, absolutely.
More age appropriate.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Also,
my
like
God.
prime Ewan McGregor.
This is a theory.
Yeah,
this is a classic
Yeah.
like
Ewan
fandom.
McGregor, I feel so fucking bad for him in those prequel movies because he came in it determined to act. And you see him acting like throughout all 3 movies. And by 3, except for the scene where the eye have the high ground, everyone's just giving the fuck up. Like, nobody's giving a shit anymore. And he's like, hello, I'm still acting. No one else is gonna act. No one?
No one?
Okay.
Stuff.
But the other thing, there's a scene in the Prison Break episode that I love that said everything. The droids are storming the ship, and they're trying to keep them from reaching the prisoner cells. They send a squad of clones through to hold them off, and then seal the blast door behind them.
Yes.
And I was like, that is everything.
Yeah.
Like that shot tells you everything about how like Yoda is like bullshit about like, you all have personalities. I believe in each of you. You're all special. But like, there's the fucking truth of it. Go out there and die.
And die for us. Absolutely. You have to remember, before the clones, the Republic did not have an army. There was no army of the Republic. Because they knew what happens when you have an army. You send people to die, and you would not be able to keep control of the Galactic Senate if what you were doing was raising an army from those people. No one wants to go fight for...
I have played enough Crusader Kings. When you raise those levies for too long, people get pissed.
And when you're the Emperor, not the Emperor, sorry, the Galactic Senate, raising those armies from your furthest provinces, from truly provincial territory, they're going to fight in some fucking crusade for you.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why you dress it up as a crusade is because it convinces them that it's good because of God. You can't. It's way easier to do that than it is to make like, oh yeah, I want to expand a little bit. Oh, I want to put down this shitty Duke who's decided to step on my toes.
Spiciest take, the dissolution, like the forced reformation of the Jedi was absolutely fucking necessary. They were all of the things they were afraid of being.
Of course,
they were
no, I don't
deeply
think that's. I think
involved
that's
with the government.
I think that's the text. I think that even in the most, despite all of our critiques, I think that obviously Star Wars is complex, and I think we're doing the thing that Rob mentioned, which is like the show and the movies hit against messages they can't fully commit to because it would end up compromising the audience watching it and saying like, no, aren't you kind of the part of the problem? But I do think they know that Jedi are bad.
Anakin, and it's probably a legitimate interpretation, but Anakin did fulfill the prophecy because by destroying the Jedi, he did save them from themselves.
That's the laughable part about like why they're so excited they found this kid. They're like, he'll bring balance to the Force, and I'm like, what do you think that means?
Let's do some math.
Do some math.
Let's
run the numbers. Yoda, I got a spreadsheet here. Yikes. Ooh.
Hey, let me tell you how many Jedi are in the galaxy right now. If Anakin brings balance,
How many younglings?
You've seen that great meme, the Venn diagram. The younglings making jokes about the younglings overlap things that never get old.
Oh no!
Oh god! Oh my god! I love it.
No! Oh, the younglings. Oh.
What really gets me, I know why they have to call them younglings, but it's so funny every time when you call a child a youngling. Like, what the fuck? What is that? What does that mean?
All right.
They can't say, yo, Anakin killed them kids.
Like veal Jedi.
Yeah, It's a more appetizing euphemism for a more noble age.
Yeah. Just imagining the Hayden what's his name? I was about to say Panettiere. A different person. Hayden in the same black and white as the MJ meme where it just says, fuck them kids.
Fuck them kids. Fuck them kids.
So Order 66 was, fuck them kids.
God, that has to exist. We have to be.
If that doesn't exist, somebody needs to make that immediately.
I got it. And also, it's an advertisement for Sheev Airs. So
amazing. Yes.
Oh God.
Beautiful.
Oh, shit.
Beautiful.
Yeah, incredible.
All
right. On that note, we're actually going to end this podcast. Normally, our post-pod is actually our pre-pod. Not today.
No.
I came in too hot, talked too much shit.
Talk too much shit.
Now you guys
All
talk
right.
shit about the
All
Jedi.
right, y'all.
I'm down
I'm
with
gonna go
it.
eat food. Have a
I'm
good
gonna
one.
Take care, guys.
Peace
Bye,
out.
Bye, y'all.
Boy. I think mounting really is the issue. I had it coming over the top of the desk, but it doesn't quite bend as far as I need it to. So,
Well, that's a problem right there.
I'm gonna just kind of swivel it around the side, and I think that it'll become less cumbersome. So I'm just gonna.
This should be better.
Zhuzh it.
That is better.
That is better.
Yes.
Okay. It's a bit annoying, Cado, because like when I play it back, when I'm listening just to my isolated vocal track, it sounds pretty good. Like maybe only a hair low. It's really weird that like I don't think you can be hearing it at the volume that like my vocal track is getting, which means Discord is just not sending it at that volume, and I don't understand why.
Because it hates us. And wants us to
I
fail.
think part of it might also be that when you listen back to something, it's probably being boosted by your system audio, like whatever volume you have your headphones set at.
What a superbly good point.
Like things, yeah,
Yes.
things will
Through the
change,
magic of my
unfortunately.
own, yes.
Yeah. Technology sucks. Nothing works
It do be like that.
the way you think it should.
At least in terms of like me being able to see and shit.
Yeah, the eternal dilemma. I do just lose some visibility. I think I just like it's not much. I have it set up so it is coming under instead of above with the specifically that arm I have set up so that it goes under instead of above. Not the arm,
Yeah.
the
Pop filter?
pop filter?
The pop filter. Yeah.
Is that better, you think? Because it is
Only
just
because it
like,
doesn't get in your eyes.
yeah, like that is the big thing that I'm struggling with, honestly, is I want to see the screen. 'Cause I was thinking,
it's useful.
which will come up on the pod, I was thinking, now that I have like actual broadcasting equipment, why don't I stream a little bit more? I have the ability to do it. I have a channel, and my friend Max has specifically requested that I build some houses in The Sims. So maybe I should give it a shot.
as good a cause as any.
Yeah. Why not? Building houses in The Sims is fun. You get to think about architecture and talk about architecture and get really stressed out, which is what people like to see when you stream.
Is there an external? I don't actually know this mic well enough. Is there an external gain on that, like a gain knob on that, or is that all just on?
I think it would be
The
in settings. I
computer.
don't see a gain knob.
What mic is it?
It's an Audio Technica condenser mic, USB mic, but
Oh, this
forget the
is so
exact
much,
model.
so much fucking better. I can talk right into the mic
Yeah, that sounds
if I
good.
turn my head
But
like this. Okay, great.
um,
I got a Stumptown cold brew horchata,
Oh,
which is
jealous.
if you see these in the store, get them. They're
Jealous.
so good.
Jealous.
I
okay.
woke up and
think
immediately worked out. I'm good.
You are coming in hot, but it's also like not loud. It's just like
It just
this is
It's
yeah.
clipping.
This is
What's wrong with my voice?
No, that's
No,
fine.
your voice is
believe
great.
It's like
fine.
my tonality.
This is just setting up this.
Yeah.
No,
You're
you-
coming
you
into
hear-
us low because you probably turned down the settings in Discord. But what you need to actually do now is you're on a
Not
PC,
spill my
right?
coffee. Yeah, I'm a PC.
Okay. In the sound settings, you should be able to find levels. I forget how to get there.
Oh,
'Cause they
I
changed it
got
recently.
this. I
Sound
got
settings.
this.
Found it.
No.
Okay.
Go to run. Open the run prompt.
That's right. They fucking moved this shit, right?
Okay. Run.
All right. And then open and then type in mmsys.cpl.
.cpl.
Yep.
Great. Oh, found it.
Okay.
Man, they did change where the fuck they put this. Okay.
There is another way to get to this menu, but I have no idea. I have no recollection of how to get there. So
you
this
just
is
use the route and run command.
yeah.
Okay. So
Levels. Okay.
on your
Where should I? Yeah, I found levels in the microphone properties.
Yeah. I would say let's start at 60% of where you're at. See how that sounds.
Okay, hello. How's this sound? Check.
Okay, that sounds better, but you're low in Discord now, so you're gonna have to change that setting, which is a different one.
Okay, that's fine though. That one's much easier to change.
But it sounds like you're not peaking anymore.
Yeah.
You're not peaking, but you're you're peaking like this. You're like, "Hi, can anyone hear me?" And I'm quiet, so I know that must be.
Oh, Austin. Hello. How's this? How's this Gita voice sound?
Still.
Okay, so is that as high as Discord
That's not
goes?
as high as Discord goes. Discord can go a little bit higher. I put it up to 70%
Pump
Discord.
Yeah.
Okay,
pump
this is 100% Discord.
There it is.
All right, cool.
Beautiful.
So let me I spilled some coffee on the floor. So why don't I get a paper towel and I'll be right back.
Okay.
This is not chatter we needed. Sorry.
No, it's
suddenly got beef with Chapo. Top of the minute. Let's get it.
Where?
Time that is. What do you mean where?
What do you mean where?
The where is always time that is.
I know where.
All right,
I knew where. What I meant
re-rack.
was what?
20 seconds.
20 seconds. 5 seconds from now. All right, we did it.
What I
We did
meant
it.
was what?
I just wasn't ready.
Okay. Oh my god, I have to tell them I am podcasting.
Okay. Are we good to go? What is today's 3:15, right? Podcast number, not date. Date is the 18th, obviously. All right. I'm just going to roll into it.